It is like a breaking news, and was like either on the 5th of August and also on the 14th of August, because there are significant dates in the life of the late Professor Jason Atakwe Arday. Arday na me di later can Professor Jason Atakwe Arday will be living in the life UK or of Ghanaian descent now for a Ghana for now so living UK in the year 2023 and at Cambridge University fan Emma be a professor at Cambridge University or be one of the youngest black professors ever in the history of Cambridge University. Unfortunately, 5th of August, nice and sense my was a professor and resigned by force. Or resigned here. Now it's 9 days after your call in fee our South London no. Now Professor Dawa and Kwabia Eninimu. I gossip 24. About saying, Master also be near subscribe button so no wa click the bell notification icon. So now follow you. Your Facebook, your Instagram, your also Twitter at gossip24.com and gossip24 TV. But my dear also be near subscribe button so no wa click the bell notification icon. So nyankopon sharp. Professor Jason Atakwe Arday obi a yewon in the year 1985. Eti emra me no di nkomo yi anase emra Professor Efimu no na ni age a eda ne so no 41 years old. Na Professor Maame Ghana ni say or mental health nurse UK Monte so and ne papa nso chef UK Professor Wenuanom therefore right information ne doso. It was in the year 2014 and a professor Ewari so in the area tena emo mo nkwala mienu as at the time and Professor Efri at as far as you know no in the area that so ha ete. Now Professor Yewo no na a special child with special needs because autistic nkwala yi ebi. There's a Professor Chiremu until be age 12 to 14 no na ontumi enkasa na ombie na no kranka de abe de afg no to me kabida. So it was between age 12 to 14 and ontumi bie na no ekasa ye through therapy ni support omo de man no eni ade. Age 18 and on akasa hu ye so sambe otumi chiro ekan ade e school and ye kaka hom. So Professor backgrounder one ma public na tiase no. It was in the year 2015. Na Professor Ako school ama sambe die we do Liverpool University bu no Liverpool John Moore University ama te say ho ena omo je Professor papers a otroye edito mu say ubetumi aba be ye PhD nti ho no mo ma professor anaso mo award professor the doctorate degree in education omo de man no ewo John Moore University Liverpool John Moore University. Now Professor Jenny now, Babette say in the year 2023, Cambridge University can say, oh, or my friend professor, Satana professor, young 40 years old, or my tonsa, their friend professor. Say, Professor, ye person, Babaya professor, or Cambridge University. Now, Babette child, or Cambridge University. So, in the year 2023, Cambridge for Professor Jason Arday, now, the youngest, one of the youngest black professors ever in the history of Cambridge University. There's a professor called Piemu, or chair sociology of education, or Cambridge University, or more education faculty, a Honda professor. There's a professor Asuma from 2023, my year 2026. Now, 27th of August 2026, and another professor I plan to say, or the book be, what you about, or no professor. Jason Atakwe Arday in life babonti. Na book no watuni di Great and Unfortunate Things. Anko babonti on the 27th of August. It is our bookie Professor Aye who interviews bebre. Professor Achemu say na ono on to me kasa until the 12th birthday and na say to me can de. Ama to say nipa no ye ni therapist no aye surprise ma memu nyina aye surprise. And na Achemu say ono we gane 30 marathons in 35 days. Or no, we're journey for 600 miles in 6 days. I'm on with the year fundraising for Eddie Raising fund by 5 million pounds. What I say? I'm a Professor Chemu. So, not all a part of program B. I have a friend is 7up. Sa program no more monitor and kola already 7 years. No more the 14, 21. Sa omo monitor generations upon generations. And that's a generation after generations, right? No professor no. Ever since someone now say professor or Cambridge University no, we face a lot of smear campaign near attacks near there. One of them, say obi cry the prekoti man ne ma memo mo address o mutim ama say na was somebody come local butcher bi Emma local butcher no and a twa preko nam no eton preko ti no eton ono professor no twice ena obi aba omo faculty ho e Cambridge University I nipa no attacking the second occasion there nipa no twe sekan wode so e ka che ne say on resign for me can say last month for a serve Ghana for over 20 solid years last month for the Sambi on person mo dey service no eba we event ase it is a birthday party bi na oye outdoor bi engagement bi eye bi na aba fie function bi amu ye bi amu hia aduane caterers e wa ase de fashion last month for ensa wo canteen mo company bi warehouse bi ni ade factory bi na mo canteen na mo penkofo mo ba run canteen na say cafeteria and amawa and also last month for edi hoduma omo numbers in that screen so no for numbers no na for last month for no mo be serve kama na we ni beje eti professor ewa atwe mu so odi ni book be ba abontin on the 27th of August no and a professor Bakubi, a friend of Professor Coffnans, right? Eba bonting. Na sa Professor Coffnans yi. Oyobia na or Cambridge University. Cambridge University o school bi a friend Emmanuel's College. Na sa Professor Coffnans no, due to the controversy ni se no see probing nsem ni ade nti kwa na Cambridge University drop no. Omo investigate ni ade no mu se ne ho son no mo sa so fa ne bae. Na sa Professor Coffnans yi and a question the appointment of Professor Jason Arday. Say, on what grounds and a Cambridge University General Swa or they employ Professor Jason Arday? Was it on merit? And I say the appointment as a professor for Cambridge University was on a political ground. And Professor Coffnasi shall say a investigate Professor Jason Arday. Quite often so crab do level away do our Cambridge University honomo. Because on the other three ends no. And the Professor Coffnasi share the investigations as no. And I discover say, hey, sana Professor Jason Arday. And no more try cry the awarding the PhD no. Copy work. Copy work na Professor Jason Arday it was in July 2026. It was in July 2026. And a Professor Coffnasi publish here our platform be a friend is Substack. It's all download this Substack now called Substacker, right? Me am an ardent Substack user. Ukwa Substacker. Ubehu said it was on the 21st of July 2026. And a Professor Nathan Coffnas as some radio or child here our university be our year Belgium. Ever since only Cambridge for falling out in almost as state no or child or Belgium. And the article we better to Substack so. No, they better to Substack no. And or compare Professor Jason Arday the papers are or try the PhD in 2015 no, to previous and as existing works. I say Professor Jason Arday no niti and or the year and work no and also copy or compare ye no who ye say. So Professor Jason Arday copy Professor Bakubi a friend of Myers no work in the year 2009. In the year 2009. Now so we screen this year Myers work no and a dahano. And a Professor Jason Arday work no and a dahano. Right? Professor Jason Arday then and a date in year 2015 no. And a Myers then and a date in year 2009 no. Oh sure Myers sure said all those students teachers on one course in very large measure experience a common program. How they engage and learn from each component will be very different. Where am I? Oba Arday Diana 2015. Arday Ababecho say all those students, teachers on one course may experience a common program. How they engage and learn will vary dependent upon how they interpret the needs to be learned. As you can see, say Myers work, and a Professor Jason Arday afa. And a certain portions of Myers work are copied dito. And a certain portions so there was somewhere they know I wa honomo. Portion be our copy dito. Okay, Myers and Myers actually say student teachers are unique individuals and differ. Okay, at the work no actual student teachers are unique individuals and differ. Into Myers work and a Professor Jason Arday a copy be. Now we jab you on Myers work anymore. The obet me as some words no and answer expression no now was expression. Eti Kofnan, a series of the portions of Myers' work now. Professor Jason Addy a copy and who was screen so. And a Kofnan as a chair say, sign number winner, Professor Jason Addy a copy. But only the first person who bring this to light. The findings amane who say there is another Professor Emeritus just or no so no or your investigations are no or Plymouth Major University I don't know what Devon. Now sir Professor Inidi Dr. David Harris. Now Dr. David Harris in Podia or Trauma University no in 2024 say was study Professor Jason Addy no works. Some of the publications of Professor Jason Addy make here in 2018 and a bit also in 2020 no. Only say Professor Jason Addy a copy. Enti or Cambridge University are doing it to say, sir Professor we. The professor no kwa ofa so nya ye. Any the papers kwa wa publish answer mo fa no. Mo gina so de fa no. Se mo fa na eduma or Cambridge University wa enye ye ondi mu. These are examples of Dr. David Harris, or Professor Emeritus, so the findings, no, right? Now, Dr. David Harris, Professor Jason Addy the work or in 2018, and Professor B.F.N. Rollock the work or in 2012. Look at this. Ochemu say, Rollock work or in 2012. Rollock try say, in this paper, I employ counter narrative to make visible some of the subtle aspects of racism in everyday educational practice. In particular, I seek to make a direct association between the tools of whiteness. Right? Good. Sawoba, Professor Jason Addy so a work in Emwa. Professor Jason Addy so actual say at this juncture within the paper, whilst Warlock actually in 2012 said in this paper, Professor Jason Addy as a son, at this juncture within the paper, I employ a personal. Whilst Warlock tried to say I employ counter narrative, Professor Jason Addy a polishing the say I employ a personal. But this part of Professor Jason Addy no work one polishing also to make visible some of the subtle aspects of racism. It was the same thing that Rollock actually was saying, to make visible some of the subtle aspects of racism. Again, Professor Jason Addy a copy dito. In particular, I seek to make a direct association between the tools of normative whiteness. Emra Rollock actually has said, in particular, I seek to make a direct association between the tools of whiteness. No? Now, Professor Jason Addy a normative pen and or the action work in the to make it look different, but ideally, or copy Rollock in the work from 2012 for an only paper published here in 2018. Not just that, interestingly, right? Dr. Harris say, notice BB from Professor Jason Addy. Say Professor Jason Addy and copy Rollock keke. One say in Kofner's new observation, it was Professor Jason Addy copying from Myers, right? But in Dr. Harris' new observation, or when they say Professor Jason Addy copied from a lot of people, not just Rollock, but also from Hiraldo. And this is an example. Hiraldo in 2010, Professor Jason Addy in 2018. Hiraldo Kanye in 2010 said, in 1994, critical race theory was first used as an analytical framework to assess inequity in education. Since then, scholars have used critical race theory, in short CRT, as a framework to further analyze and critique educational research and practice. Where Hiraldo no work in 2010. Look at Professor Jason Addy. Professor Jason Addy FI Hiraldo no work copy certain portions dito and made subtle changes. Where are the subtle changes? Baby, a Professor Hiraldo Etro say critical race theory was first used as an analytical framework. Professor Jason Addy Etro say CRT as a conceptual framework was first used as an analytical framework to assess inequity in education. So this Professor Jason Addy copying Heraldo. All the paragraphs now who say yellow no dito copying. The green no the Professor Jason Arday a paraphrase here from Heraldo. In Heraldo's case no, Heraldo tries say CRT's purpose is to unearth what is taken for granted. Professor Jason Arday a paraphrase here no, or say this paper recognizes CRT is a tool as a tool to unearth taken for granted assumptions. Classic supercopier. And as I said, Dr. Harris, points out, say Professor Jason Arday. Even to the extent, say, Dr. Harris points out, say, Professor Jason Arday, no, sometimes, me copy on one kasanga. Now, also a chantrogum. And this is Professor Jason Arday's work in 2018, as compared to a paper Professor Jason Arday published here in 2022, a year before, say, Cambridge for air pointing. Spot the difference. In 2018, Professor Jason Arday remember said the green part the Professor Jason Arday copying or paraphrase here. So the original work in 2018, which was even a copied work from Heraldo Money Adiano. Or try to say, as a student who is a recent immigrant, my understanding of English is improving daily. As a result, sometimes I struggle to articulate clearly and accurately what I would like to say to the healthcare professionals provided at the university. For this reason, I prefer not to discuss any psychological issues as they will misjudge what I am saying and then heavily medicate me. Okwoti say, a female Asian B and a car same way. Or site or female Asian B in a car same way. In the year 2022, Professor Jason Arday, and you see, this same in some Okanye in 2018, in the year 2022. However, in 2022, Okanye said, see, as someone relatively new to the United Kingdom, my understanding of English is improving daily. Despite my improvements, I still struggle to convey and make sense sometimes of what others are saying. Sometimes I struggle to articulate clearly and accurately what I would like to say to the healthcare professionals provided at university. I am aware of the potential assumptions of my words and meanings, and so sadly, to avoid a wrong diagnosis, I just prefer not to discuss my psychological issues as my biggest fear is being heavily medicated, which would mean potentially not being able to work and having my visa revoked. Why in the council same way in 2022 is Professor Jason Arday, but this time around, or can say in Nipa or shares her experience, we know a female Latin American student. And they can't same way. So in 2018, the same thing, but it was said by a female Asian student. This time around, in 2022, the same thing, just paraphrase some parts of the text and attribute it to a female Latin American student. It's the professor. Dr. Harris, Eka said, no, this is unacceptable. Cambridge. Ebani said, I'm one who signed number way. Right? And Professor Kovnans and the Professor Harris findings no Eka bomu a question you say, it is our Professor Arday. You bet me a real scholar. To the extent that Cambridge University be found a dream. At the Cambridge for a one. No, dear, from the position when he said Cambridge for a employee Professor Arday for political reason. Based on pro-vice chancellor, no, a statement will make here a more offer Professor Arday Ejuma Ediaba Cambridge. And that's one announcing no, as a new professor for Cambridge. No. And we just some way diverse, we just some way inclusive, we just say or care about obeying ethnic race. So, and now Faculty of Education head no a kanye Hillary Kremin. Or also kanye say we just say we diverse. Now Professor Arday a world class scholar. I just say babe bois or babe chese university no person mo tackle inequalities. Now Professor Arday ne so kasa o kan no crash sampa Indeed, his appointment was more political. Just or say, or maybe breaking doors, or maybe open doors for disadvantaged people and no munya access to higher education like Cambridge University. Any idea? Now, was also where Kofna so was also coming across and your man obi our chance on the discrepancies of what Professor Arday ni papers ni mu pointing out to university no. University catch saa nipa kro no. Obehyasie efi Dr. Rice Morgan. Dr. Rice Morgan a head of policy governance and integrity. Emma mo call Dr. Rice Morgan attention to the discrepancy of Professor Arday ni papers na otroye. Emma ni nya ni PhD nempo after ni PhD no osaso tro bi kan ho a Cambridge University gina so e dey fa na edwuma no. Professor Rice Morgan catch inipa no a omo hint no say oh wait there Professor Arday no oyeye ansa na ye fa na edwuma enti so obi wo ho no ma e wo so oye a UK Research Integrity Office no e na wo so mo ye sa research we what I say because omo na sa na we omo hwe enye omo Cambridge University there Professor Arday wa nya sa ade no wa bra omo fa na edwuma o Cambridge University inti eni within omo power say omo no be take action and as omo scrutinize the baby and the enyo omo edwuma no. Again, Professor Kremin, our head of education faculty, no, and so omo man a similar tip, no, or responding and say, oh, omo raise concerns, no. We invited Professor Arday over. I'm a Professor Arday Aba. I'm a Professor Arday appointed also ampa. Ono crown we notice how discrepancies and I say irregularities now when the papers no more. I'm calling on platform no publish a journal and was no so person pull it down article no make adjustments, no make changes any idea. Into Professor Arday cry to me say ampa or copy. But the academic can ya who and they say, see, also during our meeting, Professor Arday spoke movingly about his ongoing experiences of direct and indirect racism and the conditions that he was living in whilst the 2018 article was being published. At this time, he was early career and living away from home whilst dealing with significant health issues. It's your person just say Professor Arday no. And through now we try one the articles not published here in 2018 no. Now man for attacking no go through a lot, no go through health issues. It's maybe a man copy and no yare or copying ho. It's a confidence say. Sa response way Professor Arday and penny for more Cambridge University buying or you will be an on Tiasen ma we are seeing you and a confidence ma we are seeing now who here on the 21st of July 2026. Said you are no confidence no any Professor Emeritus Dr. Harris mo akami across all Professor Arday no works nam so ma Cambridge University Friday Juma or Cambridge on any we are seeing that into ho and a man for chance here scrutinize Professor Arday. A man for chance scrutinize Professor Arday ama Professor Arday resign from the Juma no or Cambridge University no e ka so be so back no mo so back ko hefa to wasi interviews now and cry or question mark on the other kind. What say? Wo now won kasa so would age 12 birthday. And yes, sir.
Hello. And my mum's like, what did you say? Say again. And that was really the beginning.
Intro. The other kind. Professor Arday classmates. That's already 40 years. Nidi Jonathan Stewart. Jonathan Stewart I recorded videos into TikTok saying, hey, Professor Arday no. So akasa no kasa won in kwala be mo boa. Okasa papa. Say e kasa achirem Professor Arday. Ohefa no kasa. Okasa.
Jason Arday, you know. Ah man, he's moving wild. Listen, I knew it was a joke thing and I knew it was fraud from man said he was a mute. What do you mean, bro? I went to school with you, bro. I was in primary school with you. You and my brethren nibs, class clowns, chatty patty, all the time, bro. What do you mean you was a mute? Listen, I knew it was a joke thing, you get me? The Ardays. This is what we used to call them, the Ardays. That man used to be like Michael Jackson and that. The mum, the dad, and his brother Joseph, they all had mini afros. All of them, bruv. When I saw him in the picture and I saw long dreads look like extension tats, I was thinking, who's this? But yeah, bruv, it's bait. You should have known it was going to be peak for you, bruv. You should have known they were going to dig up. No one don't want to see you in that position. Joke, man. This got us looking mad now. Got us looking mad.
Now, not just Stewart, right? There was another junior of Professor Adi. And so we interview, no, so chemo. So, on the Professor Adi, the course school hit book. Now, Professor Adi Kasa. Why not say Professor Adi in Kasa? Not Professor Adi Kasa. Is there say Stewart, no time Professor Adi? Or Stewart, no, Professor Adi mates. Na, or more ye senior. Or no, Professor Adi junior. Professor Adi no Kasa. And that's how people say Professor Adi in Kasa. But then, there was one woman. That's what chira. Or no, now or supported Professor Adi and then a bar I friend Clark. Right? No, not yet. To the best of the knowledge, no. Sir Professor Adi Ekasaye and I say ever spoke a word. It will be a man already age 14 to be age 15 more baby. And or Kaiser Professor Adi Kasaye. Professor Adi and Kasada. Kopem say or do sa age no. But regardless, not on to me Kasano. No, you involved in school activities. I will hit book honomo. About about say friend Freeman and see, oh, Professor Adi dear. Time I know more primary school no one kasasa kopim time we be 15 14 15 more baby and or shall say ekasai into Professor Adi kasa no kasai ampa eti that's amount for almost scrutinizing Professor Adi ni claim make yes na on kasa sa no didi 12 and I say 14 15 years no, but they also scrutinize another thing that Professor Adi kai say or you involved in 30 marathons in 35 days after no journey 600 miles in 6 days Emma omo the fundraising raises kabebe 5 million pounds and confess say intro Emma they say Professor Adi no also back correct this oh enya ntro na o twa na mom na bia asem na wan kire mu ye sa the occurs somebody fundraising ni say kra no enya ono nkwa no dwane 600 miles in 6 days no a part of a group charity group be omo organizing race no why say no mu di raise have fans but for legal reasons into no on to be in both charity group no edin in a man for says okay for legal reasons obetu mi a kire enipa kra or send the prekoti ekoma wo ma memu fie e ma mo di koma butcher nana Professor Adisio on to me kire enipa kra no be says okay now report here no ma police na because see ever since claim say Professor Adi e copy a man for work in odi nya the PhD babonti no journalists reach out to Professor Adi. Emma Professor Adi reported journalists to police. It's not man for business say. So to me reported journalists to police. And yet, supposed attack na ba also. Our campus said maximum be ba also twice. Second occasion or trace kind no. O reporting my police na. Professor Adi see dey be one reporting my police. Journalists so ehwehwe from Met Police. Our London Met Police for the statement by said Professor Adi anya report beer of such amomo whether prekoti no mo send call ni mama fie no ana say obi she mask or to share ne so ana so attack no our Cambridge University campus no there is no such report. In fact local butchers say what Professor Adi mama baby ate Professor Adi chira omo de prekoni koye no omo kokko interview omo no omo so say de bibia say nsie omo kai bibia sa so be the prekoti bae enti police any record of Professor Adi ever reported so be say any preko ko de mama fie police any report of Professor Adi ever reported so be twen so se kan e wo Cambridge University omo education faculty ho na so mo ni say Professor Adi tantro now so journalists be question no about the PhD papers or try or copy the Professor Adi akwa report e di ama police. Another thing almost as who say Professor Adi tantro and he say Professor Adi and the interview ahead of the publication of the book Great and Unfortunate Things no and kebeba on the 27th of July 27th of August no okay I say no a part of a program be on my friend is 7up.
So I just turned 18 and I learned to read and write, and I was part of a program actually, which it doesn't really exist anymore, but it was called 7up at the time. And 7up is basically when they follow you over the duration of your life. So they follow you at kind of 7, 14, 21. And I was pulled up.
Now, one would name 7-Up program. A program be UK. There's our program we know, right? Almost steady and crofo. Ebi a woni bana 7 years. Na you steady 14. Na you steady. You don't go through. So na you steady generation upon generation. Yeah, Professor Arday in the year 1985. 7-Up program no almost started here. The first edition was in the year 1964. That means almost started 7-Up program 21 years before say yeah, Professor Arday. But here is a video of Professor Arday Orca say not on a part of 7-Up program no.
So I just turned 18 when I learned to read and write. And I was part of a program actually, which it doesn't really exist anymore, but it was called 7-Up at the time.
But so we have a list of participants. We share 7-Up program no ase. Erane ya ba ya and our own screens no. There is nowhere Ubenwu Jason and I say Arday our list no emu. 14 participants no we share from 1964 omo twaso at age 14, age 21, age 28 omo share say they be more than so at age 70 omudi na wo no out of the 14 participants Professor Arday edi enim. Now omo ye 7-Up no new generation. Assuming say 7-Up new generation na Professor Arday ekanwa. That was in the year 2000. For that edition there were 19 participants. And as of the year 2000, now Professor Arday was 15 years. There is no way you could have been a part of 7-Up new generation. And even say a man the benefit of the doubt. Actually, the list of 19 participants are more 7-Up new generation that starts here in the year 2000 now. Professor Arday Edin and count. It is a number way now by up. After say almost citing say we're plagiarizing, we're copying the academic work, and then I'm so man the benya professor status no. After some man for calling out, so we can't draw craft I say or not on to me kasa or primary school. We need to be defending no. After some man for be calling out, say o can't draw far. Racial attacks now or say a ban so my be cry poppy up on campus because there was nowhere or report my police. My police first make me come and say I'm Professor Arday reporting my a police for deny categorically. So I report any such incident. Say the preko ko ma be few say this kind ban is school. Nothing of the sort. And the man for also point out said there was nowhere, no a part of the 7-Up program. Whether the SARS here in the year 1964 and I say the new generation SARS here in the year 2000. Because the SARS in 1964, no, Professor Arday was born 21 years after. In the year 2000, the SARS here, no, Professor Arday was already 15 years old and couldn't have been part of 7-Up new generation. In the same way now, Eba be ye ni mguasibye, Edema Professor Arday, Emma Chese. On the 14th of August 2026, NNDA, Omofeye, Sir Professor Arday Efrimo, Ewe Efio Timu, Ewa South London. Enra, Enomoye Professor Arday, the memorial, Ewa UK, and Montenso, a higher August 24.